morning, good afternoon, how are y'all doing? My name is Jacob. Welcome back to, or welcome to WinterReads if you're new here. And welcome to day 12 of WinterReads. And today we are talking about my 40 2022 releases. These are not all of them, but it's a good chunk of them. Yeah? Okay, so I'm scooted over because the cover's gonna be popping up over here. We're gonna just sit down, chitty chat through these. These are just 40 of them. There are definitely more, but do there need to be? No, because you can see, I think, the stack of books right there. That's just fantasy, and that's not even all of it. So what I don't need to be doing is hauling these 40 books. But here we are. So let's sit down and chit chat about them before we even kick this off. I'm just gonna say, if I pronounce any of these authors' names wrong, or any names wrong in general, I deeply apologize, and I will figure it out once I pick them up. So, first one is Empire of Exiles by Aaron M. Evans. This is an adult fantasy and it's supposed to be released on 2022, just sometime in this year. So, we're going to be going through these alphabetically, or the release date order. So, these first four are just said to be released in 2022. They don't have a specific day yet that I know of. So Empire of Exiles, this is, it's like a duke with a grudge led a ruthless coup against the Empire of Samilla, killing thousands. He failed and then he was executed, and then a scribe is, what is he doing? He's found an artifact that are the instruments of the coup. Someone died and he's the murderer, or he's the witness. And it sounds like a good old time. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to sell you on some of these, but I'm sorry. Next up is the Ballad of Perilous Graves. It reveals New Orleans as you've never seen it before. From sky trolleys to hates, from the dead side of town, songs that walk, talk, and keep the spirit of the city alive. This is an imaginative story that will sweep you off your feet. I heard this from Twitter, and I'm not exactly sure what it is about. Oh, wait. Oh yeah, but doesn't the cover look great? The cover looks awesome. At least I think this is the cover. Oh wait, there is a publication. It's supposed to be released June 21st. Let me update my spreadsheet because I was prepared and I made a spreadsheet. Alrighty, let's backtrack this. Next up is The Surviving Sky by Kritika H. Rao. It's a science fiction book, or it's a science fiction adult fantasy / science fiction, but I think it's mostly adult fantasy. This is supposed to be released sometime this year. It's a high above a jungle planet, the last refuges of humanity. I'm seeing some about science, some marriage couples, or a couple that's married that is having an ounce. And it sounds like a lot of fun. Next up is The Sun in the Void by Gabriela Romero La Cruz. It's another adult fantasy. This is supposed to be released sometime this year by Orbit. Go Orbit. It's full of twisted family politics, dark magic, and fantastical beings. It transports readers into a lush world inspired by the history and mythology of the 1800s South America. Honestly, that part is what sold me, the mythology and history of the South America. And I think it's gonna be a fun time. I see there is look like some LGBT rep, and it's gonna be some, oh, is this a fantasy romance? Interesting. Next up is, okay, I have two releases in January. So this first one is the Battle of the Linguist Mages by Scotty Moore. It's another adult sci-fi fantasy. This one's being released on January 11th this year, and I saw this on Instagram. I think it's gonna be so fun. First of all, the cover looks fantastical. The pitch is, in a modern day Los Angeles, a shadowy faction led by the governor of California develops the arcane art of combat linguistics, planting the seeds of a future totalitarian empire in Scotto Moore's Battle of the Linguistic Mages. Oh, I'm so sorry, Scotto? I said your name's wrong. That's my B. Scotto Moore is the author, not Scotty. Oh. Isabelle is the queen of the medieval rave-themed VR game. That's all I needed to know. I love a VR game. This sounds right up my alley. A linguistic battle? Come on. I can't wait for that one. That one's gonna be a fun one. The second release of January, on January 25th, is The Red Palace by June Her. This is set, it is a historical mystery thriller YA, I guess. So there's this girl who wants to be a nurse and save people, and she gets a job in the palace as the palace nurse, and she's thrown into the court politics and the murders and dangerous world of court politics. Someone murders 4 women in a single night, and the prime suspect is our main character's closest friend and mentor. Come on. Let's just hope these people don't know just how to write a blurb, because it's working. It's working. Next is These Deadly Games by Diana Urban. It is a YA mystery that is being released January 25th of this year, and I heard this one through YouTube. Probably someone else's anticipated books. That's what that's called. The blurb is, let's play a game. You have 24 hours to win. If you break my rules, she dies. If you call the police, she dies. If you tell your parents or anyone else, she dies. Are you ready? That's all I needed to know. I hope this does get a little darker, a little gruesome. It'd be fun. But yeah, I think this will be a lot of fun. It's I'm hoping this game aspect will be all that I want and more, hopefully. So next up is Cherished Farrah by Bethany C. Morrow. This seems like a cute little summary YA of these being the only 2 black girls in their country club, and then and her family's the only one, and she's the only one with black parents. Her best friend is adopted into a wealthy white family. It sounds like it's gonna be some it's horror? What? Wait a minute. Wait a dang minute. I need to reread this synopsis. So there's a fight because, wealthy white family probably just want her to hang out with her. Oh, so she tries to move into their house and not move into their house, but become part of their family. But the more Farrah does, it's a little sketchy. And so her parents try to rein her back, but I don't know if she'll listen. How fun. That sounds really interesting. Next up is We Were Kings by Courtney C. Stevens. This is the author of Sadie, I believe? No, Courtney this is Dress Town Codes for Small Girls author. Okay, so this is another YA contemporary / mystery. This person was committed of a murder, and this bill of accelerated death penalty has passed, and so now they're either reliving their what it means to be best friends, or probably to exonerate him or them. I don't know who it is. But yeah, that sounds interesting. Like I said, some of these I don't know a lot about so we're just going to take it one step at a time. That one was released on February 15th. Next up is Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham. This is one of the authors to the Expanse series. So this is a adult fantasy being released on February 15th. Basically, this sister, her brother gets murdered, and she's a thief, and now she's going on the hunt through the slums to find out who murdered her brother. Next up is Manhunt by Gretchen Felker Martin. This is a horror book. A horror book released February 22nd of this year. This is, I believe, it's the end of the world, or not the end of the world, maybe? Hold on. A post-apocalyptic novel that follows trans women and men on a grotesque journey of survival. So Beth and Fran spend their days traveling the ravaged New England coast, hunting feral men and harvesting their organs in a gruesome effort to ensure they'll never face the same fate. It seems like a kill or be killed, and by the cover, we know what they're hunting. But it sounds like it might be, hopefully, a good time. That's all I got on that. Next up is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is her latest YA fantasy. It's being released March 1st, so we are now in our March releases. This is, I believe, Secret Garden meets Crimson Peak. Do I know what Crimson Peak is? No. Don't come for me. But I'm very intrigued, and I've been following her journey of releasing this information on Instagram, and I am very, very intrigued to see more. Next up is the My leg is The Way Spring Arrives and Other Stories. This is an anthology collection of Chinese science fiction and fantasy in translation from a visionary team of female non-binary creators. It has a bunch of people as translators and contributors. I wanted to get more into short stories this year, and I think this is a great one, as it's going to be a bunch of science fiction short stories. So I'm excited for this one. This one's being released March 8th. Next up is The Bone Orchard by Sarah A. Mueller. I have no idea what this is about. It's an adult fantasy. That skeletal hand is giving me everything I wanted. It's a whodunit set in a luscious gothic world of secrets and magic, where a dying emperor changes his favorite concubine with solving his own murder and preventing the culprit, which undoubtedly is one of his 3 terrible sons, from taking control of the empire. So it's like Clue, but in Fantasyland. That's what I'm hearing, and I am here for it. Next up is Kiss and Tell by Adib Khorram, being released March 22nd. This is Adib Khorram wrote one of my favorite YA contemporaries, Darius the Great Deserves Better, and so I'm excited to pick this one up. This is like a boy in a boy band or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it sounds a hoot. Next up is Until the Last of Me by Sulfan Nuval. This is the sequel to A History of What Comes Next. This is being released March 29th. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be a fun time. I quite enjoyed the first one, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And that was my first Sylvan Nuval, and I'm excited to pick up more from him. Next up is A Magic Steeped in Poison by Judy Aylin. This is a young adult fantasy, but this cover is stunning, and it's a debut novel. It's a duology. Oh, she murdered her mother. Okay. Oh, she unknowingly brewed the poison that killed her. The poison tea that now threatens to also take her sister. Oh boy. And then there's a competition because she's going to go find the master of the ancient and magical art of tea making. How fun. That's coming out March 29th. Moving on to our April is The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is a sequel to The Shadow of the Gods, which I gave 5 stars. It was one of my favorite books of 2022. It was my second favorite book, or 2021, it was my second favorite book. Nope, that's a lie. But it was on the list. It was one of my favorites. I love the story. This is coming out April 1st, and this cover is stunning. Alone Out Here by Riley Redgate is a YA sci-fi. This is being released April 5th, and this is like a Lord of the Flies, but in space, because a group of these teens are sent out, I'm assuming, to like save themselves because the end of the world is nigh. Next up is The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. This is an adult fantasy, or is it young adult? Okay, why do I have things as adult and then, or is it like new adult? Okay. I digress. Is being released April 15th. This action-packed debut kicks off a duology of loyalty and rebellion in which a young Black woman must survive deadly trials in a racist, misogynistic society to become an elite warrior. Sounds like there's going to be a lot of action. I'm here for it. Next is The Drowning Summer by Christine Lynn Herman. This is a YA mystery being released April 19th. First of all, this cover is absolutely stunning. It may be one of my favorites of the year. I'm not sure. Magic Steep in Poison was pretty nice too. But this is a YA mystery. 3 Long Island teenagers were murdered, their bodies discovered with sand dollars placed over their eyes. So this sounds like it's gonna be fun. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. Oh, there's a summoning of spirits that go horribly wrong. So that will be fun. Next is Rosebud. I've had this on my eye for a while. This is a adult fantasy, and this is gonna be so much fun, okay? A multi-layered locked room science fiction novella in which 5 digital beings unravel their existence to discover the truth of humanity. Like, oh, that sounds so much fun. I'm here for it. That's gonna be released April 26th, and I cannot wait. Next up is One Foot in the Fade by Luke. Wait a minute. Are you telling me this is a sequel? This is embarrassing. Oh my god. I thought I was so on top of my life and looked at all this stuff. Okay, so this is apparently an urban fantasy. The one on my list is the third one in the series. Okay, the former soldier turned PI. Oh, I'm a flop. Okay, we're just gonna ignore that one. We're gonna move on with our life. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna pretend that that didn't just happen. Next is If You Change Your Mind by Robbie Weber. This is a YA contemporary being released May 3rd. I follow Robbie on Instagram, and I always enjoy his content. I think he has a lot of fun stuff being posted, and seems like a cute debut novel. As an aspiring screenwriter learns sometimes love has its own script. It looks like it's on the beach. It looks like it's gonna be the perfect summer YA contemporary, and I can't wait for it. Next is The Siren Queen by Niveau. This is an adult fantasy. This is this woman who's being desperate to become a movie star in Hollywood. She learns how hard it is and how rare and limited roles are for Chinese American women, but she'd rather play a monster than a maid. And it seems like we're going to deal with... Oh, here, I need to read this part. Okay. Siren Queen offers up an enthralling exploration of an outsider achieving stardom on her own terms in a fantastical Hollywood where the monsters are real and the magic of the silver screen illuminates every page. So it sounds like we're going to be dealing with some racism and sexism of the pre-golden age of Hollywood. And I'm here for it. Maybe it's not even the pre-golden age. Maybe it's current. Next up is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. This is an adult fantasy being released May 17th. Oh, Siren Queen's being released May 10th. The Stardust Thief is being released on May 17th. The Stardust Thief weighs the gripping tale of a legendary smuggler, a cowardly prince, and a dangerous quest across the desert to find a legendary magical lamp. Neither here nor there, but long ago. And it sounds like some fun times will be held, and I can't wait. Like I said, I don't know much about a lot of these books, but I'm excited. I like the blurbs that I've seen. Next up is Hide by Kirsten White. This is a horror book being released on May 24th. It's a highest stakes hide and seek competition turned deadly in this dark supernatural thriller. And the cover looks great. Hide and seek, come on, that's gonna be such a blast. And the last book coming out in May is All Signs Point to Yes by Cam Montgomery and Adrian White are the editors of this YA short story collection, and it talks about all this different star signs that I believe also discuss different forms of relationship, or the myriad of facets of love, from meet cutes to the lesser explored love expressed by aromantic people, featuring 13 best-selling and award-winning multicultural authors. It sounds really fun, especially since it's like following the star signs, which will be a blast, and the cover looks beautiful. Next up is The City Inside by Smith Basu. This is an adult science fiction, and this is being released on June 7th. The blurb says, this near future epic by the internationally celebrated Same Basu pulls no punches as it comes for your anxieties about society, government, the environment, and our world at large, yet never loses sight of the hopeful potential of the future. And the cover, everything. I feel like it's a common theme of these books so far. It's just like either the cover's good, the blurb's good, both are good, or I just threw it on the list without really knowing. Next up is January 15th by Rachel Swirsky. This is another adult sci-fi fantasy science fiction. This is being released on June 14th. This is about the day that all the Americans receive their annual universal basic income payment, and I believe we follow people like how they spend that money and how it could change the world, or not the world, people's lives and such. So next is Borderland by Graham Ackhurst, which is being released July 1st. It's a coming of age YA eco thriller about indigenous land rights with science fiction elements. That's all I got, and that's all I needed to be interested. So keep your eye out on that. Next up is Silk Fire by Zabe Eller, I think. Again, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. This is an adult fantasy being released on July 5th. It's set in a planet-sized matriarchal city where magic and technology freely bleed together. A male courtesan's quest for vengeance against his aristocratic father draws him into an ancient struggle between dragons, necromancers, and his home district's violent history. Okay, I did not read the full thing the first time I saw this, and I am fully hooked. So that will be exciting. Next up is Built Garden by Ruthanne Emeris. This is an adult science fiction book being released on July 26th. It's a novel of extraterrestrial diplomacy and urgent climate repairs bursting with quiet, tenuous hope and an underlying warmth. It depicts a world worth building towards, a humanity worth saving from itself, and an alien community worth entering with open arms. It's not the easiest future to build, but it's one that just might be in reach. So yeah, it sounds like fun. Next up is The Woman Could Fly by Megan Giddens. This is a horror novel being released August 1st. This is the author of Lakewood, and I really enjoyed Lakewood. I thought it was a fun time. I thought it was good conversation. It's a piercing dystopia novel about the unbreakable bond between a young woman and her mysterious mother, set in a world in which witches are real and single women are closely monitored. That sounds like a good plot. Next up is The Monsters We Defy by Leslie Penelope. This is primarily another adult fantasy being released on August 9th. A woman able to communicate with spirits must assemble a ragtag crew to pull off a daring heist to save her community in this timely and dazzling historical fantasy that weaves together African-American folk magic, history, and romance. It's giving me the Diviners mixed with anything that has thievery in it, so I am very excited for that. Next up is Babel, an arcane history of the Oxford Translators Revolution by R.F. Kuang. I haven't read any of their books yet. This is an adult fantasy being released August 23rd. The Poppy War trilogy I've heard so many good things about it, and I haven't, and I need to start it. So that's this year's goal. I'm not fully sure what this is about. Oh, here. Babel, a thematic response to the secret history and a tonal response to Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, grapples with student revolutions, colonial resistance, and the use of translation as a tool of empire. And the cover looks absolutely stunning. I think this is the UK version, I think, and the US version is soon to be released today, the day I'm filming this. Next up is The Genesis of Mystery by Neon Yang. This is an adult science fiction book being released on November 27th, and there's absolutely nothing about this. I got no picture, I got no description, at least on Goodreads I don't, so we're gonna keep our eyes peeled for that. I'm sure because these last few are coming out late that there's not gonna be much for them. Next is The Nightland Express by J.M. Lee. It's in antebellum America, two teens bury their secrets and join the historic Pony Express and soon discover the mortal world is not the only one on the brink of world. It is a YA fantasy being released November 16th, so that will be fun. Can't wait for that one. It sounds very fantastical. And then the second to last one is Bloodmark by Tracy Dion. It is the sequel to Legendborn. It's a YA new adultish fantasy, and I'm quite excited. It's a retelling of King Arthur's Knights at the Round Table deal. And the final book is A Tempest of Tea by Hafta Fazol, if I'm reading that pronunciation correctly. It's a duology pitched. This is what caught me. King Arthur meets Peaky Blinders, and that's all I needed to know. I'm excited for this. This is coming out November 8th, and I think it's gonna be such a good time. So those are 39 because we found out the one is a trilogy. It's a third book in a trilogy that I haven't read yet, so we're just gonna ignore that one, but we'll see. In books that I am anticipating to read this year, and I'm so excited to get to them eventually. Let me know down below what books you're excited to read, if you have any that are like on your radar that you've been dying to read. Yeah, let's put a clock emoji because we're waiting for these books to come out. And yeah, so yeah, this is just a nice little chit-chatty sit-down video talking about our favorite or my anticipated books. I hope you have a wonderful day, night, or whatever. Make sure you like and subscribe so you see tomorrow's video, which is the last video of WinterReads, which will be all the books that I read in 2021 with some stats. So I hope you have a wonderful day, night, or whatever, and I hope you had fun celebrating whatever you may be celebrating. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Bye!
Come on over for the merriest time of year. Come on up, come on in, get together for a good time.